Television had never braced for a powder keg like this. All in the Family was not just another joke machine. It was a cultural grenade ready to blow up the living room. The blast came with a script where gentle Edith Bunker faced a horror no viewer could imagine. CBS executives broke into a cold sweat. They hustled doctors and police into private screenings, terrified the episode might trigger calls for help. Local stations barked that they would yank the show. Production froze for 27 days while bosses argued about killing the entire series. When the story finally reached the air, 40 million people watched in breath-holding silence, and prime time was never the same. How did television reach that explosive night? The fuse was lit in Britain, inside a noisy argument between a father and his son. Producer Norman Lear read about the loudmouth patriarch in the comedy Till Death Us Do Part and heard echoes of his own dad. He remembered his father yelling at his mother to stifle yourself, while she shot back, calling him the laziest white man I ever saw. Lear knew that raw family fire could jolt American screens, so he grabbed a typewriter and began his rebellion. Yet in 2025, Sally Struthers, who played Gloria, rattled the legend with a shocker. She claimed Carol O'Connor had actually spotted the British sitcom while traveling in the United Kingdom, pitched it to Lear, and then vanished in the origin credits. She kept quiet for decades, waiting until Lear passed away before spilling the beans. Suddenly, the birth story of the show was tangled and dramatic. The road from idea to broadcast was lined with detours. The first pilot, titled Justice for All, landed at ABC in late 1968. O'Connor became Archie Justice, and Gene Stapleton played his wife Edith. Yet the network slammed on the brakes. ABC had just axed the wild variety program Turn On after one episode, and executives wanted nothing risky. Lear refused to quit. The network asked for a second try, so he delivered Those Were the Days, filmed on February 16, 1969. O'Connor and Stapleton stayed on, but new actors filled Gloria and Michael, and the second test still failed to sway the decision-makers. Lear almost turned the script into a movie before CBS tossed him a rope. At the time, CBS owned the ratings throne, yet advertisers were grumbling. Hits like Green Acres and the Beverly Hillbillies drew older rural audiences, not the young city shoppers marketers loved. In 1971, CBS swung an axe through anything that smelled of hay, a move insiders nicknamed the Rural Purge. One Green Acres actor joked that the network canceled every show that had a tree. Management needed fresh energy, and Lear's sharp comedy promised exactly that. CBS had once tried to grab the American rights to Till Death Us Do Part for Jackie Gleason, but Lear beat them to the punch. Casting the new Archie became a drama of its own. Tom Bosley, Jack Warden, and even Mickey Rooney were considered. Rooney actually received the first offer, yet bolted after reading the script. He warned Lear, "They're going to shoot you in the street." He insisted the character felt un-American and predicted disaster. The disaster never came. O'Connor, who was not Lear's first choice, stepped in and owned the part forever. Gene Stapleton poured pure heart into Edith, the calm eye inside Archie Storm. Lear spotted her on stage in Damn Yankees and knew she could mix warmth with quiet power. Many actresses tried the role, yet missed that delicate strength. Stapleton, born in 1923 in New York City, spent years under theater lights before cameras called. Her work as Edith earned 3 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes, and from the very first 1968 pilot she stole audience hearts as the mother everyone wished they had. Rob Reiner, who would later direct classics, had to claw his way into the cast. He first auditioned during the ABC phase and got rejected. He then found work on Headmaster, a short-lived Andy Griffith drama, where he played a teacher tangled in an affair with a student, a daring role that caught Lear's eye. Lear sensed Reiner had matured and handed him another shot. When CBS greenlit the series, Reiner and Struthers became the third pair to play Michael Meathead Stivic and Gloria. Reiner went on to win 2 Emmys, and later crafted films like The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally. Sally Struthers fought her own uphill battle on the road to Gloria. Born in Portland in 1947, she had just been fired from the Tim Conway Comedy Hour when she answered the audition call. On a 2025 podcast, she admitted she never clicked with Lear. She once asked him why she beat out Penny Marshall, who looked more like Edith on paper. Lear told her the blue eyes and round faces she shared with O'Connor would make the father-daughter bond pop on camera. Struthers grabbed 2 Emmys yet felt boxed in. She even spent $40,000 on lawyers during season 5, tried to escape her contract, lost a fight, and stayed 3 more years. Before her, 2 other actresses had tried the part during pilot season, but she became the Gloria viewers remember. Meanwhile, the writers treated hot-button issues like landmines. Archie yelled about race, war, and gender while Edith slipped in gentle wisdom that slices bluster to pieces. The studio audience laughed and gasped at each taping, and crew members said every recording felt like rolling dice with fate. All in the Family finally premiered on January 12, 1971, and no one guessed it would punch prime time in the gut. Up to that point, sitcoms were tidy, bright, and polite. Families grinned, jokes stayed mild, and real-life troubles never walked through the door. Lear believed viewers were ready for honesty, even when it stung. CBS quivered, yet new network president Robert D. would roll the dice, and television tumbled forward. The debut aired at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. Only 15% of households dared to watch, unsure what storm might enter their homes. Yet the fuse had been lit, and each week more viewers gathered round the glow. By the time Edith faced her unthinkable ordeal, the show had become a runaway train, and that episode cracked open a new era. What happened next was even more shocking, and American comedy never recovered. Phones rang off the hook before the cameras even rolled. CBS panicked so badly, they hired a small army of operators. Certain furious viewers would storm the switchboard, yet the tidal wave they feared turned into pure devotion. Within 1 year, 50 million people gathered around their sets each week, not for gentle laughs, but for a rough mirror that showed America its own reflection. Each half hour felt like a family argument echoing coast to coast. Archie Bunker, loud, stubborn, and rooted in the past, battled his idealistic son-in-law Mike over every hot subject, and no side walked away with an easy win. That stubborn balance was the magic. Writers refused neat endings, choosing instead to show messy hearts colliding with messy facts, and viewers could not look away. The script swung at topics earlier sitcoms dodged. Racism, anti-Jewish, hatred, abortion, sexual assault, menopause, divorce, even the Vietnam War crashed into the living room in plain language. One story revealed Edith's cousin had quietly loved another woman for years, a tender truth rarely seen on TV then. Another plot showed white extremists trashing the Bunker home because they thought the family was Jewish, turning furniture into rubble while the laugh track froze. In perhaps the rawest flash, Archie admitted his father once locked him in a closet. That single memory exposed the roots of his bigotry without forgiving it, and millions suddenly understood how hurt can twist a man. CBS tried to dull the edge with warnings at the start of every episode, a nervous note that said the jokes aimed to reveal prejudice, not praise it. Behind the curtain, tension boiled, as hot as on screen. Norman Lear battled network censors line by line. He could not even let Archie growl got him it during the pilot, and when executives threatened to shove a series into late night, Lear marched to court and filed a lawsuit. Despite the fight's ratings skyrocketed. From 1971 through 1976, All in the Family ruled the charts 5 straight years, a streak no comedy had ever claimed. Trophies piled up like souvenirs from a whirlwind. The show captured 4 Emmy wins in a row for Best Comedy and finished with 22 statues out of 74 nominations. Carol O'Connor claimed some of the brightest honors, including a coveted prize in 1979 for California Here We Are. That same year, the original run ended with 40 million people watching the final curtain. Even the finale was only a pause. The story spilled into Archie Bunker's place for 4 more seasons while Mike and Gloria moved west. Archie bought a bar, and the household welcomed a foster child. Spin-offs sprouted like branches on a mighty tree. The Jeffersons alone stayed on air 11 seasons, proving the power of the Bunker universe. Yet Christmas night, 1976, brought a blast no stocking could hold. The draft dodger introduced David Brewster, a gentle young man who slipped into Canada rather than fight in Vietnam, and Archie also invited war widow Pinky Peterson without knowing the storm ahead. Emotions exploded as David explained his choice. Archie raged, and Mike cried, "What David did took a lot of guts." Viewers sat breathless while 2 sides of the war clashed over turkey and tinsel. During the showdown, Archie growled, "I don't want to talk about that goddamned war no more." CBS ordered a fix that overdubbed the line to that rotten damn war, and the patch was so obvious the studio audience groaned. Lear fumed that the change drained life from a moment, yet the episode still roared to 34.5 million viewers. Tops of the season. Timing made the story feel prophetic. Weeks earlier, Jimmy Carter won the White House after promising to pardon draft resistors, and only 27 days later he fulfilled that vow on 21st January 1977, sending relief to 50,000 citizens who had stayed abroad. All in the Family captured an entire turning point on film, sealing fiction and history together in prime time. The show's daring reached another peak on 19 February 1972 with Season 2, Episode 21 titled Sammy's Visit. Sammy Davis Jr. left a briefcase in Archie's cab and dropped by the bunker house to fetch it, setting up a collision viewers could feel coming. Sammy pitched the idea on The Tonight Show, and writer Bill Dana built a script that placed one of America's most beloved black entertainers face to face with TV's most stubborn bigot. During rehearsal, Sammy worried he might forget lines and asked for cue cards, but director John Rich refused, insisting every performer face the same challenge. Cameras rolled and Sammy answered each sly insult with crisp one-liners that sent the live audience into delighted fits. He later explained, "He fawned all over me in the show, but his prejudice still comes through." The tension climbed higher with each exchange until a bolt of lightning struck. Just before leaving, Sammy spun around and planted a kiss on Archie's cheek. The crowd exploded for 38 straight seconds of laughter, clapping, and cheers, one of the longest uproars in television history. Viewers argued about each story at work and at dinner tables the next day. Primetime comedy had crashed into daily life, and newspapers treated episodes like breaking news. The show sprouted more spin-offs. Maud Goodtime's Gloria and the Jeffersons all circled Archie's living room while exploring new sides of America. Even the theme song became a pop anthem. Teens mocked parents by singing Archie's scratchy opening, while Edith squeaked along, and everyone laughed. During that draft Dodger meal, many viewers felt glued to the bunker sofa. For one tense moment, people on opposite sides of the war saw each other more clearly, just as Lear hoped. When Sammy Davis Jr. walked and the lights flashed on his diamond ring like a sly wink, Archie's forced grins peeled away until laughter shattered the tension. The shock kiss was rehearsed once. On the night of filming, Sammy leaned in at the perfect beat, and O'Connor's stunned face made the audience roar for nearly 40 seconds. The laugh was so loud, it had to be chopped down. Director John Rich later said, "Bang, he's kissing." And we went in, and Archie took that look of surprise. And then the audience just went berserk. It wasn't just funny, it was electric. A black man kissing a white man on American TV in 1972? That alone could set off shockwaves. But kissing Archie Bunker, the face of TV bigotry, that was like tossing a match on a powder keg. Just 5 years earlier, the Supreme Court had finally struck down the country's racist marriage bans. In 1967, the Loving v. Virginia ruling ended laws in 16 states that made it illegal for black and white people to marry. But those scars were still fresh. So when Sammy Davis Jr. kissed Archie on the cheek, the tension in that room exploded. There had been interracial kisses before, like the famous 1968 Star Trek scene with Captain Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura, but that kiss brought hate mail from across the South. Now imagine the outrage when two men, one black, one white, shared physical contact on national TV. Then came another earthquake. October 16th, 1977. It was supposed to be just Edith's 50th birthday. Instead, over 40 million Americans tuned in for something unforgettable. The night began with a smile. Archie and the family were planning a surprise party. Edith was home alone, waiting until someone knocked at the door. He said he was a detective. He wasn't. His name was Lambert, but he wasn't there to help. He was there to hurt. The tension crept in slowly. Edith rambled, stalled, answered the phone, doing anything she could to buy time. Then Archie came home, briefly, just to grab a punch bowl. The man hid in the closet. He leaned toward Edith and whispered. If she made a sound, he'd kill them both. Then the oven timer rang. She told him the cake was burning. He let her go, but Edith didn't just save dessert. She saved herself. She grabbed a hot pan, smashed it into his face, and ran for her life. Minutes later, at her surprise party, she collapsed in Archie's arms. The audience went silent. Laughter had vanished. A sitcom had become something else, something raw and real. This wasn't done for shock. Norman Lear had a mission. He wanted people to understand that sexual assault didn't only happen in dark alleys. It could happen anywhere, to anyone, even someone like Edith, especially someone like Edith. He called Gail Barbanel, the head of the rape treatment center in Santa Monica. He asked her, if you could speak to 40 million people about rape, what would you say? She didn't just answer. She joined the writing team. She helped shape every scene. She made sure it felt true, not cheap. Lear had actually taken the original idea from another show, but he knew it would hit harder with Edith. And it did. The story didn't end with the cake. Part 2 aired the next week. We saw Edith spiraling, afraid to leave her room, blaming herself, refusing to report what happened. It was painful, but real. In the end, she made her choice. She identified her attacker, not for revenge, but to stop him from doing it again. Behind the scenes, CBS was rattled. Advertisers threatened to pull out. Local stations in conservative towns didn't want to air it. This was a 9 p.m. family hour, and they were expecting light comedy, not life-changing truth. Lear pushed forward anyway. CBS arranged private screenings for police, therapists, and doctors, so professionals could understand how victims feel and how to help them. Newspapers wouldn't even say what the episode was really about. Most headlines simply said that Edith faced a crisis. But the audience knew, and they didn't look away. That year, All in the Family wasn't just number one. It was a mirror, and it showed the country a truth it had tried to ignore. At the heart of that mirror stood Carroll O'Connor, the man who played Archie Bunker, so loud, so stuck in the past, was nothing like his character in real life. O'Connor stood for justice. In 1974, CBS faced a workers' strike. Crews were outside picketing, and O'Connor refused to cross the line. "I've been a trade union man all my life," he told reporters. "I won't break a strike." This wasn't just talk. He was a lead actor on the most-watched show in America, and he walked away. O'Connor and Norman Lear didn't always get along. They clashed over scripts, over money, over politics. O'Connor once accused Lear of trying to ruin his reputation. Lear said O'Connor could be impossible. Still, they kept working, because they both knew the show mattered. O'Connor even said once, "The show could go on without me. There's a lot happening in the bunker house before Archie gets home." And he meant it. Behind the scenes, producers had discussed writing him out. He was ready to leave if he had to. He wouldn't compromise on his beliefs. That wasn't the first time he'd drawn a line. In 1972, when CBS tried to replace trained technicians with machines, workers went on strike. O'Connor again refused to cross. For 8 weeks, production halted. Viewers waited. He never flinched. He may have played a man full of anger and hate, but Carroll O'Connor was nothing like Archie Bunker. He taught college. He read philosophy. He defended workers' rights. He believed in fairness. And he knew who Archie really was, a bitter, broken man twisted by ignorance. "That's why I played him so well," he once said, "because I understood the cost of ignorance." By the time Edith's 50th birthday aired, O'Connor and Lear had argued, reconciled, and transformed television forever. They took a simple sitcom and turned it into a force that challenged racism, sexism, violence, and now sexual assault. And they didn't whisper about these things. They shouted. One chilly morning in January 2025, Sally Struthers said something that turned decades of television history upside down. On a podcast called Let's Talk About That, she dropped a truth bomb that nobody saw coming. According to Struthers, Norman Lear wasn't the true creator of All in the Family. She claimed it was Carroll O'Connor, yes, Archie Bunker himself, who had the original idea to adapt the British sitcom Till Death Us Do Part for American TV. Struthers said Lear kept that secret buried for 52 years, only admitting it privately before his death in December 2023 at the age of 101. It was a jaw-dropping accusation that shattered the story fans had always believed. Struthers claimed O'Connor didn't just act, he built the foundation. According to old interviews, he rewrote the pilot script entirely by hand. He even recorded an audio tape playing every single character. Archie, Edith, Mike, and even a neighbor kid. That tape, it supposedly became the blueprint for what Lear turned into the show's first script.